Well, currently in Portugal and been in the countryside for the past few days. Been traveling a lot in Portugal actually. I was on one side in the countryside, then Lisbon, then back in the countryside, but a different location. And it's probably like the it's one of the locations it's one of the locations that I resonate with the most. I think the climate here is pretty close to what I call perfect for me. It has the hot climate, it has the lovely brown, burnt grass. The trees are still green. You can see very far into the open terrain, and it's green, but not overly green like England or some of the northern European countries or eastern European countries. The Mediterranean climate is it's also not as bad as the North African countries where you go too down south and it's just desert. There's hardly any green. So this is a good mix between the north and the south. They almost get it just right for me personally, because it's hot, it's consistent sun, and it has the look that I like more importantly, which is that open terrain with trees that are green and the grass that is burnt, it's brown. I really love that look, and it's a very sort of Midwest look. It's perfect for like horse riding climate. I find it very relaxing. It's definitely hot. There's no denying it's hot, but I love it. And yeah, this was initially a work trip, and then I ended up taking a few days to myself just to wind down and have some quality time. Portugal is a beautiful place. It has a lot of cobble roads, a lot of beautiful buildings. The architecture here is stunning. I've never seen so much detail to buildings, but it's a different type of detail because a lot of European architecture is quite nice. But here they have something different. They add tiling to the exterior of the building. So a lot of the buildings have these beautiful design of the tiles here. The tiles here are so stunning. There's so many different tiles on the buildings, and I've I don't think I've come across that before. I've come across amazing architecture. European architecture is very nice, but here there's so much detail. And I thought initially it was going to be like a very small part of Lisbon, but the more we walked around and explored, the more we realized it's a huge part of Lisbon that has the style, the cobble roads everywhere, the stone roads everywhere, and the tiling on the buildings, lots of stairs. It's a very hilly, very steep city. So get prepared to get your steps in. Your leg will be in pain. Your legs will be in pain. But it's a great place to explore, to walk around. You never get bored walking around here, I find. It's very interesting. The restaurants are very nice. The coffee shops are very nice. The cafes are very nice. It has a perfect mix of modern and old. So all of these places that I've just described, the cafes, the restaurants, the bars, they're very modern. So these are places that you would expect to see in London. All these nice little co-working spots, the cafes that have that feel and look that you would only expect in a modern city. It has it in Lisbon, which then creates this really nice feel of old and new. So it's not old and outdated and boring, and there's nothing to do, and you just can't wait to leave and explore in a modern city. No, it's actually got all the modern things that you want here. It has a very arty, edgy side to the city as well, which I love. So it's a very creative space, lovely people. There's a young crowd here as well. I can see why a lot of digital nomads move to Lisbon. There's a lot going on here. Of course, the weather is great, but more importantly, if you are trying to work with the UK or you have business in the UK, then the time zone is exactly the same as the UK. So it's honestly perfect. And things are reasonably priced here. So it's not too cheap, but it's also not ridiculously expensive compared to the UK. Um, so it's been a good experience. It's been a good experience. I've had some good fun and some good downtime. Right now, we've been in the countryside for like the past 3 days or so, and I'm leaving in an. I leave here. I have a cab in 20 minutes, I believe. A cab booked quite yeah, a cab booked in 20 minutes. So I generally was not sure what I wanted to discuss in this video, but I just felt like it was important to film something whilst I'm here and take some time to appreciate Portugal and just reflect on the past 6 months because it's been a good start to the year. I've managed to read a lot of books, which was one thing that I wanted to do. And I've read 5 books so far, which for me is huge. And the funny thing is, I haven't read any books in the past 2 months. So I read 5 books in the first 4 months of the year. And then I just kind of got caught up with work, but more importantly, Codex. So that's when I discovered Codex, is when I stopped reading and I just started building. And I'm completely fine with that. I do want to get back into reading now. I feel like I've done a lot of Codex work and got myself to a good place. But I'm completely fine with not reading in the short term if it means I'm doing something bigger immediately. So I'm actually doing something with my time. Whereas before, I think I sometimes would struggle to read just because I would be using my time with other rubbish, you know. So I've also come off social media recently in the past 2 months or so. I think end of April is when I officially did it, and yeah, like it's just been really good to do other things with my time. So I've read some good books. I've done some good work. The client that I'm working with at the moment, they want to continue to progress and do more work together. And they've been speaking about doing like a bigger sort of what's the word I'm looking for? They want me involved deeper in the company. They want me to commit more and help them grow bigger and faster because they're about to do a Series B. They're about to raise around 40 to 50 million dollars, which is a lot of money. And yeah, so that should be happening in the next few weeks or so. And I think once that happens, things might change drastically. They're going to want more commitment from myself as they try and grow and scale and expand into the US. So that'll be an exciting time. It'll be exciting to see, you know, what I can do with them because once you have more money, then you can truly have a bigger impact because some things do require money. Like if you're trying to have big marketing campaigns, big stunts, PR, just any ideas that you have that maybe were harder to do before when you had less money can now be done once there's some money in the bank, you know? I have been in London for almost a year. So I got back from Bali mid-August. Well, 19th of August to be precise. So in a couple months that will be a year. And yeah, I do actually miss Bali. I think Bali's one of my favorite places in the world to wind down, to get fit, to get in great shape. A great bunch of people there, great networks. It's so small, Bali. It's tiny. And it's just perfect because if you're trying to get around and if you're trying to go to a coffee shop, if you're trying to go to a gym, then eat, and then if you're trying to go out in the evening, if you're trying to go watch a sunset at the beach, there's so much to do, and it's just, you know, everything is just a few minutes away. So no doubt I do miss Bali. I think in terms of getting work done, I don't think it's the best place to get work done, if I'm being truthful. I I think, well, of course, the time difference is a huge impact, right? Like UK is 8 hours ahead. I think 7 hours in the summer, so 7 hours ahead in the summer. But it's so far away, and I think the lifestyle there can sometimes get in the way of work. London is a great place to work, but I think sometimes, again, it can be too much of that. So you kind of want to balance, right? You kind of want to balance, and I think in the coming months, I would like to explore different places. So, fun fact, I've actually never been to Dubai. And I don't know how I've never been to Dubai. And my friend the other day was taking the piss out of me because he said he's been to Dubai in the past like 10 years, 12 times. And he's currently in Miami and he's praising Miami so much and he's saying it shits on Dubai massively. But then when he found out I hadn't been to Dubai, he was like, well, definitely make sure you go to Dubai first before you come to Miami because you got to compare that to this. So I think a lot of people feel like Dubai is like the perfect place to be in terms of work, life, safety, fitness, people. It just almost has everything the way it's described. But he's then saying Miami is basically like that, but 10x, right? So I want to explore more of those places and see, how I feel when I go there. Also want to go to Cape Town. I would love to go to Cape Town, and that would have to be done this winter, December or January. One of my favorite sayings this year has been clarity comes from action, and that has stuck with me a lot. It is basically the key to success for me in everything that I do because whenever I'm trying to question if something is the right or wrong decision, I feel like the right thing to do always is just do it. And, you know, I guess you can laugh because that's also Nike's slogan. And maybe that is just the summary of life, which is just to take action, like just do things and worry about everything else afterwards. So just keep doing things. So that has come from books, that has come from listening from people as well. But I think the book Essentialism was basically describing something similar about like having so many priorities. And back in the 1400s, the word priorities didn't exist. So the origin of the word was actually priority. So in 1400s, you had priority, and that meant what is your number one priority? It was only ever that, right? So whatever that was for the day, you did that priority. And then later in the 1900s, it evolved into priorities. And you then had multiple priorities. But it actually defeats the purpose of the word because how can you ever have one priority? So you're back at square one now. So you originally had a lot of things to do in the 1400s, and then it says, what is your one priority? And do that, right? So forget everything else. And then in the 1900s, they did, added a plural to it, the yes, and now you've got multiple priorities, and you're back at square one because you then still need to find the one priority, the one thing to focus on. So there's a lot of things that I felt like have changed the way I view things and tackle things and approach things this year. But definitely clarity comes from action is number one because even with this video, I truly don't know what I'm doing. I just knew I wanted to film. I just knew I wanted to film something. So I couldn't, there was no plan or strategy with this video. I just wanted to film something and reflect on this trip that I've been doing in Portugal before I go back to the UK. And then fuck it, it might not even be a banger. It probably ain't gonna be a banger. But I would have done something. I can go back and reflect on it, and then I can maybe adapt and change and learn from this video and approach things better. Obviously, planning is always. I'm big on planning. Planning is number one for me because it means you've prepared, it means you're ready. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta do shit, man. So that's kind of where I am at the moment. So something I've started doing. We're the 30th of June today. Oh shit! It's the 30th of June. Yeah, so 30th of June today, and I would say I've been doing outreach since the beginning of May, around the beginning of May, and I've had around maybe I think I've sent around maybe like 100 outreach messages, give or take. No, actually, maybe 100 to 120. And I thought it would go a lot better than it has actually happened. So I thought I would actually get a lot more responses. I thought I would be able to book a lot more meetings. But funnily enough, out of the 100 or so people that I've reached out to, the amount of bookings that I've had is exactly a big fat zero. So again, I wouldn't have known this if I didn't just start, but I've been doing it a lot, and I've realized that 100 or so outreach messages in, 4 to 8 weeks is actually nothing, because I have a friend who started his agency and he does a few thousand a month. So, I have not been testing enough, and I need to be doing a lot more than that. And I need to be trying different methods. No, sorry, I need to be trying different methods as well. So far, I've just been doing LinkedIn, but I need to be doing emails. I need to be doing paid. I need to be doing organic. There is so much more that I could be doing to truly be saying, you know what, I did it properly, and I can then say it worked or it didn't work. But it is quite interesting because it's funny when you do get responses from the outreach messages, and even though they're not positive, but it's just good to see some responses. And I've had someone that said he was actually interested in booking a call, but I followed up a few times and it didn't go through. I've then had people say no, thank you. So I am getting a few responses here and there, but no responses that have led to anything at the moment. But it's good to see what is possible because, again, it just goes back to just taking action. There are people out there that need your services and want your services, but one thing I've always struggled with is, how do I get my services out there? How do I make people aware of me? And that is what I'm going to have to tackle immediately, which is, more brand awareness, building a personal brand, more presence, paid spend, organic, whatever I have to do to get my name out there as much as possible. Because that will be the only way that people will learn about me and discover me and build trust in me as well and have confidence in me. So it is quite fascinating because you really just have to take action and just do things, and then everything else will follow. But if you don't, no one will know you exist, no one will know your name, and you will never get what you want to get out of this. So for me, if it's getting business, I have to put myself out there. If it's for you, if you're a musician, for example, there's no point having the best lyrics or the best beats if no one knows you exist or no one can discover you. You'll always remain that person in the shadows. And it applies to everybody, everybody. If you're a builder and you're trying to build something, you could have the best product, but if nobody knows it, if you can't market it properly, no one will ever be able to use it. And you just think about that across every single industry, and it applies across the board. You have to get yourself out there for people to learn about you and discover you in order for them to be able to do business with you, buy from you, whatever it is that you want. So there is no question that that is the solution to everything right now. That is definitely the world that we live in. So, but it always has been the case. I think you need some sort of personal brand. Even like you think about everything, there is no industry that it doesn't apply in, like politics, like building the likability factor. There is one thing that you cannot measure right now on socials, and it is the likability factor, right? And that's one thing that you can maybe take if you're doing socials with clients. It's one ROI that you can never measure, but it is very important. So you can measure likes, you can measure impressions, you can measure views, you can see comments and reposts and whatever and shares, but you'll never know the likability factor. But it's one of the most important things to why people resonate and do business with you and take a liking towards you. So you just have to get yourself out there, show your personality, build in public, do whatever it is, experiment more importantly, and try new things. So that's what I'm going to have to be doing for the second half of the year, because I think cold outreach alone hasn't been working. I think, of course, if I'm somebody of status that is doing cold outreach, that could change things completely. But without that online presence, I'm just like anybody else. So it doesn't matter how good I think I am, it's about how they perceive me. And I need to come across, online in a different way. So, yeah, a lot of great progress so far in the first half of the year, and a lot of learnings to take into the second half of the year. And inshallah, by the end of the year, I'll be in a really good place with what I want to be doing. So that is Portugal in a wrap, in a nutshell. There is one final thing that I do hope to get is back in shape. I was in insane shape in Bali, like absolutely jacked, ripped, healthy. Everything was great, and I've fallen off a little bit. To my surprise, I weighed myself the other day and I gained 5 kg, which I don't know how, because I'm not even like fat, but I think I can get away with it a little bit because I'm tall. But yeah, I know I'm not the same ripped person I was 6 months ago. So that's one other thing that I need to work on this summer and just keep it a bit more consistent. So yeah, that's a wrap from me. I will tune in with you guys when I'm back in London.